Hello friends. What if Naruto's destiny was now moving toward a future that could change the entire shinobi world forever? Welcome to part 12, where emotions grow stronger, secrets are revealed, and dangerous new challenges begin to appear. Before we begin, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. Konoha General Hospital. Rin. Is that you? Tsunade asked as she took in the appearance of someone she thought was killed during the last shinobi war. Rin looked very similar to when she was alive the first time, except she had grown her hair out a few inches and had some delicious looks that she wouldn't mind on herself. Yes, it's Rin, Lady Tsunade, and I've returned from the dead courtesy of the Shinigami. I came back around the same time Minato, Mikoto and Kushina sensei arrived here. Where can I find Naruto? I've been watching his fests with the other three, and I must say just thinking of that guy makes me more wet than when me and Kakashi were on the same team. The brown-haired medic explained. Wait, you've been observing him restoring his parents' clans since the beginning. You watched him in the Mizukage? Tsunade questioned incredulously. Oh yes, you're easily the greatest in all the land, and I really want to see for myself if Naruto's is the greatest of them all. Rin answered. He's currently out of town on a mission. He's being a bodyguard for some farmer who is heading back to their home in Tea Country, so you'll have to wait until he gets back, sadly. Rin inwardly sighed in disappointment because since she returned from heaven alongside the older shinobi, she's been aching to try her very first, and the thought of that being the son of her sensei just turned her on even more. So she decided it would be best to wait for the blonde to return, and then she can get pregnant with his child. Ah, okay then. When he returns, can you tell him someone wants to perform a checkup on him? Rin said with a wink. Tsunade was reminded of that day when Shizune performed the checkup on Naruto when he first met the medic Nin, and she couldn't wait to have another medic bite the dust with Naruto. She nodded. Of course, you can use the isolated room at the very end of the hallway on the first floor. I had that bridge builder convert it to a room used for X only. In this case, if Naruto wants a woman, he can slam her in there. Here's the keys, and I recommend using a sound suppression barrier. Got it, thanks Tsunade-sama. Rin said as she grabbed the nurse outfit Tsunade provided as well and ran toward the room all the way at the end of the hallway in the dark corner no one ever went to. Grinning perversely to herself, the blonde, busty Sanin continued reading the newspaper as she went about her job for the day as the hospital receptionist, since the original one was on leave for Kami knows what. Several hours later. Woo! Finally another mission completes. Too easy with how pathetic the bandits on the road to Tea Country are. Naruto yawned as he made his way into the hospital and walked over to the counter to greet his favorite Ba-chan. Hey Ba-chan, how's the baby coming along? Tsunade smiled at the younger blonde and rubbed her stomach. Almost a month in, can't wait until I get a baby bump. Tsunade said as she kissed her younger lover. How are the other ladies doing? Shizuka finally show up. Yeah, she was a really good. I tell ya Ba-chan, her PC was so tight I thought the circulation to my was gonna get cut off and you'd have to remove it. The chuckle that the Sanin let out told Naruto she'd love to be the one to remove his should it suffer from such a fate, and the thought of her using his severed as a live X toy made him shiver a bit in fear. That's nice to hear, Naruto. Now do you remember what has to happen when you return from a mission that takes you a few days to complete? Sanin asked. The younger blonde nodded. Yeah, we have to get a quick checkup, right? Is Shizune-chan gonna give me another one? No, she's become a bit moody if you remember from her pregnancy, so I have someone else taking over for her just for you. You can find her in the room way in the back in the very dark corner, the one no one is allowed to use anymore because I made it off limits. She should be waiting for you right now. Great. Later Ba-chan. Naruto and Tsunade waved each other goodbye and the younger blonde ran down the hallway to get his checkup over with. Now that he was in front of the door, he slowly placed his hand on the knob, and before he turned it, some very perverted thoughts were going through his mind. I wonder who Ba-chan got to do the checkup on me. Hope she's able. The blonde thought as he turned the knob and opened the door in one quick movement. What he saw next gave him a very necessary reason to get an instantaneous hard-on, and he became hard at such a speed it shot through his pants and had enough force to throw the pants and boxers off of his body. The sight that caused this reaction was Rin laying on her back on the examination bed, furiously fingering her moist PC to a picture of Naruto that was given to her by Tsunade, and she was moaning to her heart's content at how good it felt. Who is that hottie? Naruto thought as he subsequently made his way over to the masturbating form. Rin was too into her masturbation session to even notice Naruto had already made his way into the room, but who was she to blame? She had masturbated her virginity to pictures of Kakashi when she was alive the first time, and comparing this to what she was doing now with Naruto's picture felt a trillion times better than what she experienced with Kakashi's pictures. Naruto decided to let his presence be known by placing a hand on hers and held it in place so that she couldn't finger herself, and she groaned in annoyance, wondering who dared to interrupt her, but her anger subsided when she saw that it was that blonde stud Naruto who she had been watching impregnate all those women in heaven alongside his parents and Mikoto. "Naruto, you're back. I've been waiting for you so I can give you a real checkup," Rin said happily as she hopped off the table. "Who are you, if I may ask? I've never seen you around before," the blonde questioned. "My name is Rin Nohara and I'm a former classmate of Kakashi's, Kurenai's and Shizune's. I'm another medic, but I died really young and I came back to life thanks to the Shinigami about the same time your parents and Sasuke's mom came back for the sole purpose of bearing your child," Rin explained. "Oh, I see. Kakashi-sensei has told me a lot about you and how you used to cream yourself just by looking at him." Naruto slowly moved his view downward and took in her petite and curvy form. For someone who died at the age of 13 or so, she had a nice rack in her toned belly through her open nurse shirt was as. Wait, she died at 13, so that meant she would be that age now unless. How old are you? There's no way a girl at 13 would have a body like yours, so care to explain? Oh yeah, the Shinigami did some weird jutsu shit that aged me a few years so I can be an 18-year-old so I can have kids. I told him I always wanted to be a mom, so I guess he decided to be nice for once. Rin was explaining this all while she was taking in Naruto's battering girth, and holy shit was she turned on even more just by seeing it in person. That's huge. The first I'm gonna examine as a medic nin is gonna be this one, and I am glad, Rin thought with a minor blush plastered on her face. The blonde shrugged and sat on the examination table and beckoned Rin over to him to perform said checkup. Tsunade Ba-chan said someone else that wasn't Shizune was gonna check me. Care to do the honors? Rin inched her way closer to the mammoth and took in the lovely scent of Naruto's immense man-meat, and she was glad her virginity was going to be claimed by the largest in all the land. That she had been watching spew come into countless women before her was now going to hose down her fertile womb and get her pregnant. She didn't want to admit it to Naruto, but she always wanted to be a mom and the child would be hers and Kakashi's, but too bad for the silver-haired Naruto was gonna be the one to do it. Rin smiled sweetly at the blonde bastard and took the huge in both her hands and began to jack him off with great skill. Wow, she is good. I bet she got some tips from Ka-chan, Naruto thought as he moaned from her touch. Rin pumped the erection at a much faster rate, earning louder moans from her new partner, and she then opened her mouth as wide as she could and began to engulf them into her little mouth, and she was entranced by the taste of it. Despite having never before, Rin was doing her best to take all 17 inches in, and she was doing a very good job at not only that, but providing stimulation for the blonde by working the underside of the shaft with her tongue while jacking it off all at once, and the blonde damn near lost his mind like he did with the other women who were able to multitask. The brown-haired medic put in the best effort she could to accept more of his abnormal length, but her throat was too tight and her mouth was so small Naruto decided to give her a little hand. So placing both hands on her head, he grabbed a handful of her hair and with an almighty downward push combined with a super powerful thrust he managed to skewer her throat with all 17 inches of his elephant-sized, and Rin moaned out loud from the feeling, and Naruto's eyes rolled to the back of his skull as the tightness of her throat was almost unbearable. Okay, Rin has the tightest throat of them all. With the combined efforts of her deep throating, her jacking hand and his thrusting into her mouth was just too good for both of them to take in, and Naruto just couldn't handle it, and he felt like he was already ready to come, and compared to the previous loads he had fired into the other ladies, this one felt like the biggest load ever, judging from the boiling feeling in his nutsack. Fuck Rin, why does your throat have to be so tight? I can't take it much longer. I'm trying my best to hold back my load, but take it. Drink all this white miso soup. With a roar, Naruto thrusted one final time, causing Rin to gag slightly from the impact, and she felt the cum soaring through his shaft before spewing out of his head at such velocities it made a loud splashing noise as it filled her mouth. Firstly, the cum sprayed down her throat, and the sheer amount of it filled her stomach to capacity almost immediately before filling her mouth. What couldn't fit in her mouth quickly caused a back up and escaped through her lips, and the taste of such a lovely substance made her close her eyes in bliss, and she bit down gently on his, not wanting him to pull out until he finished dumping his loads. Huh, I didn't think cum would taste this great. Naruto came into her stomach and mouth for a good 5 minutes before it finally stopped and pulling his out of Rin's mouth. What couldn't fit in her spilled out like a spigot, the sound of the semen hitting the floor reminiscent of water hitting the floor leaving a massive puddle. No, I won't let it go to waste. Rin shouted as she began to scoop up the excess cum on the floor with her hands and drank it, making sure it didn't go to waste. Naruto chuckled to himself at the amusing sight and waited for her to finish drinking the cum before grabbing her and placing her on the table where she was leaning on it and hers was sticking out at him. Ripping her nurse skirt off, he tossed it somewhere in the room, exposing her rump of ant-sand, her very moist PC, which was leaking out its love juices at an alarming rate. Virgin? He asked. Yeah, and don't be gentle either. I've been wanting this since I started watching you from above with your parents and aunt. As a medic nin, I won't conclude this checkup until you my very hard the hospital is rocked to its foundation and you blast so much cum there's a 100% chance of pregnancy happening. Rin said sternly. Naruto was a bit shocked since Rin only stood at about 5 feet in height and he was nearing 6 feet. That such a petite girl like Rin wanted a prick as big as his to stretch her PC out so bad was definitely a huge turn on for him, and he couldn't wait to literally split Rin in two. Needing no more temptation, the blonde, spiky-haired bastard grabbed her small waist and gently pushed his head into her moist cunt, and being so small Rin moaned at the feeling of the tip penetrating her opening and split her hymen in two. Naruto began to work more of his after taking her virginity, and every time an inch was pushed into the medic Rin damn near screamed in pure ecstasy, and the way her screams sounded made Naruto wonder if she was in terrible pain or great pleasure. Nonetheless, he continued working into her small stature of a body. Oh my shit. Is this pushing all my organs out of the way? Is it going to protrude out my mouth? Rin thought in pure bliss. Rin felt something strange but pleasurable in her gut, and looking down she almost screamed in surprise when she saw an outline of the mass in her belly. She felt Naruto pull his out of her PC, and instead of gently putting it back in, he pulled her down and shot his hips forward at maximum speed, and she was instantly impaled on the battering ram, and this time instead of moaning, she screamed and squealed in absolute pleasure at being stuffed again. Oh, oh, oh. Rin got out between pants. Naruto had his signature grin plastered on his face and knew this girl, despite being confident and wanting his, she really couldn't handle the mammoth girth, but he didn't care because this is what she wants and the woman's needs are always important to him. Without uttering a word he began to power his newest cunt at such speeds the exam table was shaking violently and Rin's face was scrunched up in what he hoped was pleasure. Her teeth were clenched and she was biting into a pillow she got from who knows where while gripping the edges of the bed with such force her knuckles might as well turn white. Oh my god. It hurts so good. Rin thought as she felt Naruto pick up his pace to even faster speeds. The blonde's grin only increased when he looked down and saw that Rin's plump littles started to turn red from how powerful his impacts were, and he felt his testicles slap hard against her, making her moan even louder than ever before, and in just a few short minutes the stimulation of her node became too much for Rin to handle and she began to have a very powerful orgasm despite being her first real one that didn't involve masturbating. Taking her mouth off the pillow she gave an ear-piercing squeal as she came powerfully and squirted like a fire hose. Her precious feminine liquid covering Naruto's big, and there was enough to probably fill a cooking pot. In all honesty, Rin felt so much pain and pleasure from how good she was with the blonde she began to cry tears of joy as she was being fed. That was until she felt Naruto cease his thrusting and she groaned in displeasure when he pulled out. Hey, why the heck did you pull out, Naruto? She questioned. That was until she saw two more Narutos appear right beside the real one and she knew what was coming. With 3 mammoth girths that big, would she even survive getting by 3 hot blonde guys? You mentioned that you wanted to be really hard, so I thought it would be awesome to get my clones involved. Get her, boys, Naruto ordered. The 2 clones licked their lips and grabbed the girl and pinned her to the bed as the real Naruto sat on the edge of the table and placed Rin on his lap. The first clone stood behind Rin and positioned his tip against her anus, while the second one stood on the table and grabbed a handful of her hair and positioned her mouth near his. You asked for it, now you're gonna get it. Let's do this, boys, Naruto said as he penetrated her PC once more. You got it, boss. The two clones said in unison as they pushed their S in their respective orifices. Rin screamed at the top of her lungs when she felt the clone behind her push him into her tight little, but the sounds were muffled due to the clone in front of her stuffing her mouth full. Nevertheless, she enjoyed the feeling as it simply felt too good, so she closed her eyes and relished in the pleasure the blonde ex-gods were giving to her. By now the exam table was on the verge of breaking from the impact the blondes were giving in every thrust they did to the medic, and under Naruto's command they did just that and increased the speeds they were thrusting at, and the table rocked so violently it actually broke and left a small crater in the floor, and the almost artistic look of their rhythm would make a good scene in another porn film if Naruto ever starred in another one. Every time the real Naruto withdrew his, the clones would thrust theirs in and vice versa. They continued to the girl, making her go through nearly 100 orgasms before she began to feel tired. The amount of times she had squirted was enough to fill a pool, because that's what the room began to look like, a bit of an exaggeration. Poor Rin thought her whole body structure was being reorganized, having 3 bugs in her body, but as long as Naruto got her pregnant she didn't care. As the clone who giving her a mouthful of was pushing and pulling his erection in her ring on it as to entice him to come, while with the other 2 Narutos she tensed her Saiyan muscles to try and get them to come faster, and with how tight she already was in the first place the 3 blonde gods of knew it wouldn't be long until they came. Oh man, she's tensing her muscles up to try and get us to come faster, and it's working. The real Naruto quipped. I know, I don't think I can last much longer with how tight hers is. The first clone grunted. Her mouth isn't doing my justice either. The second clone groaned. They increased their efforts to such speeds they swore the hospital began to shake to its very foundation, and they kept at it for a good 20 minutes before they felt that sensation of the orgasm fast approaching, and this time they couldn't restrain themselves. I'm coming, all 3 blondes shouted. Giving one last thrust and making it as powerful as they could, the 3 blondes reached to the very depths of Rin's body, with the real Naruto's head piercing clean through her cervix and resting in the fertile womb. They all came at the same time. The clone giving Rin anal filled hers up with nearly a gallon's worth of cum, while the clone being blown by the girl filled her stomach to capacity. As for the real Naruto, he turned the entirety of Rin's womb completely white with his baby making cum to the point it became completely filled with the sponge. It looked like a pitcher full of milk. After their coming had ceased, the clones dispelled, and the real Naruto was left a panting mess with Rin resting on his chest. Rin was able to regain her consciousness and she had a massive blush on her forehead. Looking up at Naruto she smiled. I can't wait to be a mom, she said joyfully as she rubbed her tummy. The warm feeling inside her womb was all she needed to know she had been perfectly inseminated by her first lover. I wonder whose eyes our kid will have. Rin then felt something hard as steel poke against her thigh, and she almost gasped in shock seeing that his was still hard. Hold on, you're still hard after emptying all that cum inside me? How many rounds can you go? She asked incredulously. Naruto placed a finger on his chin and gave that stipulation a quick thought. I can go all night if you want, but I don't want to render you crippled yet, so I think I would like to cover your cute face with a thick layer of cum. Okay. Give me a face mask of cum so I can lick it all up, Naruto-kun. Rin said in a sultry tone that was completely unnatural of her. The blonde got up and stood before Rin, and the medic began to jack him off while also blowing him, and with their combined efforts he came again, and a massive load of cum splattered all over her face, completely covering it save for her eyes, and she began to use a finger to take the cum off her face and ingested it all in a matter of seconds, and she burped. Delicious. I can't wait to have your cum for breakfast, lunch and dinner. After that little session the 2 drunk teenagers left the room and walked back toward the Namikaze estate, and the public was very shocked at the sight. Unknown to them, a masked figure with an orange mask was eyeing the new couple from an alleyway, but this person seemed to be very shocked at what he had just seen. Taking off his mask it is revealed to be Obito Uchiha with a massive nosebleed, and the expression on his face was a mix of confusion and shock. Our Rin is alive and she's Naruto. What is going on? I'm abandoning Madara's plan. I need to get laid. Maybe that's why I'm so evil now. Also, who has a that huge? Tossing his mask aside, Obito climbed the hell out of there back to his old room at the Uchiha compound to change into normal clothes and find some civilian women too. Tetsu no Kuni. Woo. This is a party, bitches. Minato shouted as he continued to plow a samurai woman from behind. The samurai woman was moaning and squealing to her heart's content as she realized what a true katana was like, and the pace Minato was destroying her was almost unheard of, as the speed and power of his thrusting was almost as powerful as Naruto's. Hell yeah, this is much better than Kunoichi PC. Kakashi screamed, the sound in his voice signifying that he was drunk. Lord Hokage, you are too hammered. You as well, Kakashi my dear friend. Ebisu said. Being the weakest jonin out of Konoha and having no X-drive, he was reduced to jerking his little 1 centimeter pill off to a picture of a samurai woman given to him by Minato. The weak jonin stroked himself to orgasm and passed out the second he came, much to Minato and Kakashi's amusement. Around Minato there were at least 30 unconscious samurai women he had plowed just minutes prior, and if there was one thing Ebisu thought would come out of this situation was improved relations between the samurai and shinobi class. Nami no Kuni. My daughter has finally grown up. I hope you are happy living with Naruto because I couldn't think of a better man for you. Tazuna exclaimed as he gave her daughter a hug. Take good care of Inari, father, and Inari, be a good boy. Tsunami picked up her bag and ran toward Konoha to finally get a piece of the blonde male, leaving her son and father behind. Being the little cry-baby that he is and always will be, Inari began to cry an ocean's worth of tears watching his mother leave. Wah, I miss mommy. Tazuna looked at the boy with a sweat drop. Whiner baby. Karen's room, Namikaze Estate. Seriously, the thought of getting pregnant by my cousin is such a turn on. It would be even better if Naruto was actually my brother. I can't wait until this one is born so he can come inside me again and give me another baby. Now that's what you call family bonding. Karen thought as she rubbed her baby bump. Ever since Karen had found out she was really an Uzumaki and was definitely Naruto's cousin in some way, the redhead had been having some insane masturbation fantasies since that night. Once again, the thought of such a fetish made her PC feel warm and slowly turn wet, so she rubbed herself to another orgasm, eagerly awaiting to make a second baby with the blonde stud. Unknown to her, Kushina had been thinking the same thing, and the thought of being pregnant by her own son made her have some serious fantasies. That's it for part 12. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Naruto What If stories. And comment below, what do you think will happen next? See you in the next video.